And what we're going to talk about is loyalty, building deeper relationships with your customers. What's wrong with loyalty? How can it be fixed? And what role does mobile play in that? And so, by way of background, my name is Zach Goldstein. I'm the CEO of Thanx. We are focused on making loyalty effortless for consumers and for restaurants. And Mindy, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Mindy Kaplan. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at Lou Malnati's. I've been with the company for 12 years, and we have recently partnered with Thanx to fix our loyalty program. And
Mindy's also announcing news that came out a couple months ago about entrance into this market, right?
Right. We open in Phoenix in May, so it'll be our first location. We have 45 locations in the Chicagoland area, and our first location out of state will be here in Phoenix in May. Yay.
Pretty exciting. Yeah. So just a quick background on Thanx. We work with brands across the country, from quick serve to fine dining, check sizes from $6 up to $260. Our focus is entirely on helping businesses build deeper relationships with customers. And that's what we've done, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And that's not a simple problem. As it turns out, what we're going to look at is the modern restaurant guest. Why is it more challenging than ever to build deeper relationships with that customer? As a result, what's broken about loyalty, and then how we're going to fix it. And so I'll walk you through, this will be very brief, just some data that will be the background so that we all share a perspective on who we're talking about. Our customers, restaurant customers, all of us, are what I call promiscuous. They are going to other businesses. They are spending their money at lots of different places. And the challenge here is that a gigantic portion of revenue for any restaurant comes from just a small chunk of customers. 62% of restaurant revenue comes from the top 25% of customers. If you don't know who those customers are, you don't have any way of building a deeper relationship with them and activating them. You can see that only 3% of customers at most restaurant chains are super loyal, meaning they come regularly, weekly, or monthly, depending on the type of business. This is the world that we're playing in. And so clearly, we need to do something about it. But to what end? One of the innovators in the loyalty world, Fred Reichheld, did some analysis that said a 5% increase in customer retention can double your profit. 5%. It's by focusing on those top customers. And unfortunately, that's not as easy as it should be. It's in fact getting harder. Many restaurants have built engagement tools via email or other channels, and these are becoming less and less effective. According to Epsilon, probably the largest loyalty company, email engagement, these are click rates in your emails. They don't even convert to revenue necessarily, down to 3.6%. It was at about 6% 2 years ago. According to MailChimp, in the restaurant industry, it's even worse, 1.7%. So we're blasting out emails as an industry and not seeing consumers actually engage. That's a problem. There's another trend. Does anyone know what this picture is? Any guesses? This is the Vatican. Announcement of a new pope, Pope Benedict, 2005. This is the Vatican, the announcement of Pope Francis in 2013. The world is changing rapidly, and I don't have to point out the major difference in these pictures. Mobile is becoming a key to any form of engagement. But everyone has an app, or everyone wants an app. Average consumer has 26 apps on their phone, but yet 84% of the time on your mobile phone is spent in 5 apps. Very rarely, perhaps with the exception of Starbucks, is a restaurant app in those 5. Starbucks has a literally addictive product. It's easier for them to get you to use their app every single day. Most restaurants don't have that advantage. And so the question here is, how do we use mobile and play in this increasingly competitive world? Because we have to be there. And loyalty is a key to that. And so we'll talk about that. So why loyalty is broken, and I think what we'll do is we'll kick it over to Mindy, who is transitioning off of an existing program, and we'll use that as a case study for some of the things that are broken about loyalty. And Mindy's generously going to share with us, honestly, what has been broken about the program that they've run.
So we implemented a program called Deep Dish Dough about 11 years ago. At the time, we did a lot of research in what we thought was best practice for loyalty. And it's points-based. For every dollar you spend, you get a point. When you get 250 points, you get $20 loaded on the card. We felt that we would have too much interest. And so we wanted to actually limit that. You know, times have changed. Our thinking has changed. But 11 years ago, we really wanted to control our expenses, control those who wanted to join, and we only wanted our very loyal customers. So we created barriers. In order to sign up, you have to pay $20, and then that $20 goes back on your card once it's registered. So if you don't register it with your information, you can use the card and get points and points and points, but until it's registered, those points won't turn into dollars. So to register, you have to fill out this information at the store, pay your $20. The store sends back the form to our office, and our marketing team has to sit there and manually enter the information and register it so they can start getting it. So in addition, if you don't have the card, you can't get the points. So you take your receipt, you take a picture, email it to us, and our team then has to manually enter if they didn't have their card with them. Well, pizza, we have a lot of carry-out delivery in addition to dine-in. So it's not always the same person picking up the pizza. So the wife has the card and the husband picks up the pizza. They don't have the card, they have to send in the receipt. There's a lot of work on the marketing team to do all this manual entry. On top of that, we have no data. So we don't know who our best customers are. We don't know how frequently they're coming. We have no dashboard to help us with this information. So the whole point of it is to be able to connect with our customers, but we really can't connect with them. So we're giving away rewards, but we're not really getting what we want from it. So we knew we had to make a change. We knew we needed mobile, but we also didn't want to get away from our web base because that's what people are used to. So we needed a program that had both.
Great, and what's perhaps most shocking about that is despite all of that effort, Lou Malnati's is a step ahead on a lot of restaurants that have no data, that have no program to reward their customers, and are kind of sitting there on the sidelines wondering, how do I get involved? And so there's a lot of friction associated with that program, as you just talked about, and yet it was at least rewarding your top customers. There are tens of thousands of people engaging and saying, we love Lou Malnati's, and that's a step ahead, but it wasn't easy for the customers. Their process was a plastic card, right?
Right.
And in your staff, you have someone on your team who was struggling with half of her time, right?
Right. Well, I almost lost one of my teammates because she's like, this is just not what I want to do in my career as enter data. So we actually had to hire somebody full-time to just enter loyalty data. And it was difficult for our operations team too because our lines can be long on a Friday and Saturday night when people are coming in to pick up their pizza, and we're sitting there having customers fill out information. And so it's clogging our operations in the stores too. So it really, we put a burden on our customers, we put a burden on our marketing team, and we put a burden on our operations team. So this program was just broken.
Yeah, and so these are actually three problems we see associated with almost every loyalty program, whether it's a plastic card, whether it is a first generation, what I'll call a first generation mobile-based program, whether it is a phone number system. It's a hassle operationally for the staff, or because your point of sale is not the most friendly piece of hardware anyone's ever encountered. Any changes to it or anything integrating with it can pose major problems. It's a friction-filled consumer experience. A shocking number for most people that are running loyalty programs, 6 out of 10 people that you sign up for your loyalty program will stop engaging in the first 6 months. You're going through a lot of effort to tell your consumers about a program, and 6 out of 10 have stopped. And you've seen that in your data, people that took a card and then you don't see many more transactions,
No,
right?
we have about 40% of inactive loyalty customers.
Completely inactive.
Completely
They've gone
inactive.
dark. And just to translate that directly, inactive means no data. And no data means why'd you even invest in the program, right? And then the last piece is that last part. Without any data, you've been collecting, rewarding people and collecting information through your loyalty program. Have you done anything with that data on an ongoing basis?
We really don't have enough data to get to do anything with, and that was really one of our biggest reasons for change. If we're going to do all of this, we want to make sure we have the data so we can do marketing programs to get some ROI from it.
Great. So what were the key criteria when you went into the process? And this was a long process. Lou Malnati's was deliberate, and maybe Mindy will tell the story of how we ended up coming into business together. But what were the key criteria when you went in? If we're going to make a change, these are the must-have things.
We have to take the burden off the customer. We have to be able to get as many of them in without creating any barriers. We have to take the burden off of our ops team. So it's seamless to them. They know the program, they can explain it if needed, but they don't really have to do any work. And marketing and IT, really. So it's not, all that manual labor is not being used on the admin side also.
Someone said to me yesterday, which I thought was a shocking statement, the challenge with loyalty is it either needs to be kind of hard for the consumer or hard for my operations team, and I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I kind of sat puzzled because it shouldn't be that way, but it has been that way. You either create some sort of plastic card, phone number-based system that asks your consumer to jump through hoops over and over again, or you're trying to build some complex integration with the hardware that you already have in place, which is a nightmare for the operations team, or manually entering some of that information in some cases. It doesn't need to be that way. And I think one thing you mentioned and that is clear here is let's talk about mobile. Mobile was a key element you thought about, but you did it deliberately, right? Why is mobile not just a kind of check the box functionality?
Well, we wanted our loyalty program to have a mobile app, but we also wanted to make sure our online ordering was available through the mobile app. So we wanted something that would allow us to have both. Our online ordering, we were late into the market to start online ordering, especially for a pizza company. But we have a POS system that is not easy to integrate with. And it really just took us a long time to get that up and running. So now that we have it, we really want to get it out there and make it easy for customers. So we were looking for mobile. It's the way of the future. And having an app, but making it more than just loyalty. We wanted to have it functional for customers to order from too, because, loyalty is great, but unless they order, they're not using their loyalty.
What's interesting to me is we've seen a lot of ways, in fact, even at this conference and elsewhere, where loyalty moved to mobile. And the challenge is, it's not just do I have loyalty or not? It's, does it work? And so we see a lot of things that ostensibly they look like loyalty. It's a QR code. People have struggled with these for a long time. You got to line them up, et cetera. But what about check-ins? Get out your phone, click a button, say I'm here. This isn't seamless for the consumer by any means. More QR codes to pay. I'm not being facetious when I say, get out my phone, unlock my phone, find the appropriate app, go to the screen in the app that has this thing on it, wave it in front of something hoping that it connects. It didn't. Increase my brightness, adjust my landscape mode so it doesn't do that flippy thing, try again. Many businesses have a 10, 15 second checkout experience and a 20, 30 second loyalty payment experience with their phone. This isn't effortless. Choose a location, send us an email with your receipt. Not only is this painful for consumers, there's someone on the back end that has to deal with it. These are not easy experiences. And so mobile is not just, well, we've moved loyalty to our mobile phone, so we're good to go. It has to be seamless. And this is what happens, and this is not talked about enough in the restaurant industry. This is what happens when you make your consumers jump through hoops. 150 branded apps in the restaurant industry across a wide variety of vendors. The average rating is 2.9 stars. Mindy, what would you do if you had a 2.9 star Yelp review?
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. We would be contacting the customer, we'd be contacting the store, we would be making sure that score changed.
Yeah, I think every restaurateur I've ever met would be springing into action at a 2.9 star Yelp review. I don't understand, if I'm transparent, why we're okay as an industry with a 2.9 star mobile app review. Millennials are the single largest spending demographic we have ever seen in this country. Guess where a lot of millennials go first when they hear about your brand? The App Store. It is your logo on your application tied to 2.9 stars. It's just not acceptable. And when you read these, and we've obscured the names, we're not trying to call anyone out. When you read these, it's just because there are bugs or it's a hard consumer experience. Consumers want something that's effortless. So we'll talk about how to fix it, because that's why you're here. This is the product that Lou Malnati's has launched, and I'll let you talk about what are the key elements of the mobile experience here. But as you think about how consumers will engage with your new program, can you describe that in-store experience to the group?
I think one of the most important things for us is this does not change how our customers have to pay. So that's number one. They don't have to log onto their phone to get their reward or their points. They don't need to during the transaction. It is seamless. So our operators don't have to do anything, and our customers don't have to do anything.
To make that explicit, they dine. What does someone do currently in a Lou Malnati's restaurant after they have a great experience?
They pay.
They give their credit card.
Their credit card.
And they're done. What does someone do going forward with your rewards program when they have a Lou Malnati's dining experience?
They dine and have a great experience, and they pay with their credit card.
Seconds later, they'll get a notification on their phone. You're 90% toward a reward. And that is what you're talking about with effortless.
The other thing is this allows families to have one account. So they put all of their credit cards on when they sign up, all the ones that they would use. So whether it's the wife's, the kids, the husband's, it is all in one account. So no matter who is paying, it's going to the one account. So it also helps us, because we were struggling with, but my kid has the card, or my mom has the card, or whatever it may be, or I just don't have my card with me. And this eliminates all of that. They just pay with the credit card. It's already tied to their account, so the points get added. And if they redeem their reward, that actually comes right off their credit card also.
Now, that's particularly important in a business where orders are coming from all different channels. Phone, online, in-store, takeout, dine-in, right? Those were all different experiences on the previous plastic card program, right?
Right.
And one of the keys that we talked about a lot is, how do I deal with a multi-channel business? Not every restaurant is multi-channel. Yours is very multi-channel, right? And so how did that play out in the decision that we have different operations teams for our online ordering, we have teams that are dealing with our point of sale, everything's got to be seamless.
Right, and this just simplified it all to one, just one easy way of providing loyalty. They don't, once they sign up and they enter it, they don't have to do anything except hit redeem. So when they get that, one of the other things that we have always said is, we want people to know they're getting rewarded. So we don't want this program happening in the background and they just get money off without ever having to do some kind of action. So there's a balance. We don't want that to be too much of a burden, But we also want them to take an action to know they're getting rewarded, to know that they're a loyal customer and they've earned a reward and they have to use a reward. So they do actually have to say, redeem my reward, and then it sits in there for the next time that they visit, and they use it during whatever restrictions may be on that particular reward. So they do have to activate it to get it. So even though it's seamless at checkout, they still have to take an action. And that was important to us too. So it's not much of a rewards program if they don't know they're getting rewarded and we're just giving out discounts.
Yeah, one of the ways to think about that is there are two elements of engaging as a consumer with a rewards program. There is accrual, which is 95% of your experience in a program. What do I do as I'm earning towards something? And then there's redemption. And I'll come back to this analogy later, but if you think about earning a reward as kind of running around an Olympic racetrack, if you put hurdles all the way around that track, you drastically increase the likelihood someone trips and doesn't complete the race. Accrual is the vast majority of the experience in a loyalty program. Making that seamless increases the number of people that make it all the way to the end, and that matters. Good. So one that we talked a lot about the consumer experience and making it effortless, and actually one thing that I forgot to mention is it was also important to you that it wasn't just mobile, that you could engage via web. Why is that?
There's still a lot of our customers who don't want to do it through their phone, who are comfortable with the web, and we did not want to take that away from them. We've been in business for 45 years. A lot of our customers have been with us for 45 years, and we just didn't want to force a mobile app on them and say this is the way we're going. So we did want to give them the option of having the web-based and being able to find that information. And as much as mobile is growing, transactions are still happening on desktop. And so if that's where they're comfortable going and that's where they want to buy, we want to make it easy for them to check their rewards and buy online that way too. Good.
If Ben is operations and IT, if Ben were here, what would he say about the importance of going into this process of figuring out loyalty programs? What were his fears?
Well, actually with IT, it's always, time and money. Everything takes a lot of time and money when we want to do that. So we thought about going a number of different ways, and taking the burden off of IT was very important to him. And integrating with our POS, originally, I'm going to tell the story.
Sure.
So we sent out an RFP. We had heard about Thanx. We sent it to Thanx. Even though I wasn't really sure Thanx was a fit with the credit card, I wasn't sure how that would work. Well, Zach didn't really think that we were a fit for him either, so he did not respond to our RFP and told me such. Because even though we thought we were really being open, we didn't put out any very specific information what we wanted loyalty. We kind of left the platform open, but we were pretty insistent that we wanted it integrated with our POS, which would have put a huge burden both on the loyalty provider and on our IT people, because it's just pretty much impossible to integrate with our POS, and there would have had to be a lot of work done. And Zach basically said, we're not going to do that. That's a deal breaker. And we had a lot of other loyalty saying, yes, we can do that, and it'll take about 3 months. And it's like, wow, we can't even get our payment processor done in 3 months. I'm not really sure how this is going to work or how long it's going to take. And we felt that it would probably be more like 1 year to 2 years of working with the loyalty provider, our POS, and our IT department. So it was going to be a huge, huge burden. So Zach said no. The competitiveness in me said that's not acceptable. We want to hear about what you have to offer. And after a number of conversations, here we sit. We did review a number of different loyalty providers, and all said and done, it was really the ease for our IT department and not having to integrate with our POS, which was one of the big points for us moving forward.
This is common, an assumption that you have to. You have to touch the point of sale, and often called the third rail of restaurants, right? what do I need to do to activate my data? Darn, I got to get it out of the point of sale. And I think that becomes a baseline assumption in the world of loyalty, and it doesn't need to be, because the entire experience about who are your best customers, what are they spending, which stores are they visiting, how much are they spending, when are they coming, all of the relevant information about who those people are can be done without it. And so the key to this entire technology, it hasn't been explicitly said. We took the integration burden on ourselves at Thanx to go integrate with the credit card companies, the credit card networks, the gift card rails, basically. All of that is in the back end. And so when a consumer swipes their credit card, sure, it's captured in the point of sale. It's also known by the credit card network. There's a piece of plastic in your wallet that has your name on it. Why should you as a consumer have to identify yourself any other way than just paying? And that's what we've ended up building. So the integration burden became on our end so that we could save Mindy and Ben and their team from the integration burden on their end. And that results in us being able to launch much more quickly than what would have been years and years, despite probably what people were telling you. The last piece I wanted to talk about, Mindy, is this says actionable data, but you have a very specific thought on what loyalty means to you. And it's not just rewards. The words loyalty and rewards are kind of used interchangeably often. You have a visceral reaction against, I don't want to just be giving out rewards and discounts. That's not the kind of brand we are. What does loyalty mean to you, and what are kind of some of the elements of activating data that make for a more complete loyalty program for you?
Well, loyalty is just that, and we're very blessed in the fact that we have very, very loyal customers. But we want to engage them beyond, you get a point and you get a reward and you come in and redeem it. That seems like a very cold transaction to us. And we really want to be able to engage with our customers. So we want data to show us who our very best customers are. And we do a lot of things with our customers to help build loyalty. And we want to be able to segment out our customers and offer them things based on just how loyal they are. For example, when we want to change anything on our menu, we'll get a bunch of our loyal customers in. We will feed them all of our current compared to the menu items we want to change. We'll get their feedback. We do this for free. They know they're in a room full of other loyal customers. They feel very special. And it gives me an opportunity as a marketer to really engage one-on-one with them and get more feedback. We just did one recently. And one of the things that I learned from these very loyal customers after all this time, I've been with the company for 12 years, is that they don't open a menu. They come in every week, they order their salad, they order their pizza, they order their cookie, they have a great experience, and they go home. They come back, they order the same thing, they come back, they order the same thing. They never look at a menu. So we could change all these things. We were having them try different desserts and all of that. So their feedback is so important. So we know now that we have to get our servers to do more interaction with them because they're not opening a menu. So having loyalty events like that and really hearing the feedback from our customers is really important. And we do this on a regular basis, but it's very hard for us to pull out the data on who our best customers are. And if we want to segment that out and find out, get the once a month customer and get their feedback on why they only come once a month and what other pizza places are they going to and why don't they come more often, we can't segment that out.
What about feedback? I mean, that's a great point about getting the data out of a program is what makes loyalty more than just giving out rewards. Because the cost of rewards adds up very quickly, and if you're not activating that information, you're not getting a lot of value out of it. Feedback is something you prize a lot at Loom Malnati's. And one of the things that you emphasized when we were talking is, can we improve the way we solicit feedback and information from customers, not just throw rewards at them?
Right. We've been working on a separate issue on how to get the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. And so we've been seeking other companies to figure out how to do this. And do they integrate with Yelp, and can we get scores from that and try to figure out everything. What Thanx offered is immediately after the purchase, the customer gets on their phone the ability to give us the score. So real time, one other thing I have to mention, any of the complaints, so if it's a low score, all of that immediately is going to Thanx. And Thanx team is there to handle any operational issues, to get us that right away, like there's, this person needs to be responded to or whatever that may be. But so it also gave us the opportunity to get that feedback and start looking at those scores on a per store basis.
Yeah, one of the complaints that I hear quite often about Yelp, who is this person? They're kind of a ghost. Why did they leave 2 stars for me? Did they even come to my restaurant? When were they there? I'd love to know who the manager was. I mean, the list of questions is longer than sometimes the value of that 1-sentence piece of feedback. We believe that needs to change. And so what we've done is tied every piece of feedback to a transaction. Now, when Mindy's team looks at that feedback, the person gave a poor score. They were at this location, they spent this amount of money, their lifetime value is $50, or their lifetime value is $5,000. You're going to react differently to those people. I mean, anecdotally, you tell us about some people that we're not sure they ever come in, but they send a bunch of feedback, right?
Right.
That is what feedback needs to be productive, and those are key hallmarks of what loyalty is, as opposed to just shilling out rewards, right?
It's got to be two-way, and that's really important to us. Like, they need to be able to give us feedback and not just us sending them rewards.
So then the last piece is about how do you actually measure success of a program, right? And you're thinking about both the transition off of a program, which is specific only if you have one today, right? But also the measuring ongoing. How do I know that this works for me? What are some of the key things you're thinking about that you want to measure regularly to say this is a program that's driving success and incremental revenue for our business?
I mean, it's the same as all of yours. I mean, we look at frequency, average check spend, and satisfaction. If we can get them to come more often, if we can get them to spend more when they do come, there's going to be an ROI. One of the big factors in this program, in addition to segmenting out our customers so we can really market to them in different ways, is the fact that Thanx has a win-back program, and I'm not technical, so I can't talk about what goes on behind that, but they're able to determine if somebody is starting to fall off, how their pattern was in spending, and then all of a sudden now they're not spending in that way. So we can reach out to them and try to win them back before we lose them as a customer.
You don't have to be technical. You got that right. That's a big problem in almost every restaurant. Your customers walk out the door, and it's not that they necessarily had a bad experience. In fact, many of them had a great experience, but for some reason they don't come back. You need activity data to know whether that person's left, because recognizing them by face is nearly impossible. And without that transaction data, you can't do it. But then even if you have the data, activating it, I've never met a restaurant that says, well, we have an abundance of marketing resources and we're analyzing our data all the time. You need easy ways to activate that information. And that's the type of tools that we try to provide. So I want to wrap up. There's an example of what churn management and customer feedback looks like for Lou Malnati's. The bottom left, a mobile net promoter score, and this screen here, activating specifically how much has potentially churned out of the business, and with one click, can we reactivate those customers? So I want to just generalize for a second, and then we'll open it up to questions, because the things that Mindy is describing are actually pretty consistent. This is the racetrack I mentioned before, and I find this as a very, very useful tool in understanding the power of customer loyalty. Again, your customers are running around an Olympic oval trying to get to the finish line. There's a couple things to note. The reward is waiting for them at the finish line. And what does an Olympic athlete do as they round the home stretch? They run faster. Even after a marathon, these people find ways to sprint on the home stretch. This is precisely what you want your customers to do in a reward program. It's called frequency compression. I'm 9 on a basic buy 10, get 1 free program. On my 9th visit, I get a notification. You're 1 visit away from a reward. Great, I want to come back. I should come back tomorrow. On my 10th visit, you earned a reward. That feels good. I want to come back tomorrow. Now I have to redeem my reward. Another great experience. All the value from a frequency compression basis from a reward program comes at the finish line. We're often asked, well, are all my customers just always coming faster? No. The reality is no. When you're on the back stretch of a race, you're just running your race. And that's how it is in a loyalty program too. So some things to think about. Make it simple to get started. You've all seen those long intake forms that ask you 70 questions off the bat or a bunch of demographic information. If you are jamming demographic information at the beginning of your loyalty program sign up, you're drastically lowering the number of people that will sign up. If you're charging, it's even worse. Make it effortless. Don't put hurdles all the way around the track. All you're doing is reducing the number of people that make it towards the finish line. And so you're not going to get that opportunity for the frequency compression that you're seeking. That's where the ROI comes from. Make it transparent, sticking with the analogy, and it'll be a little overburdened by the end. But if you can't see the finish line, you don't know when to accelerate. One of the traditional problems with the plastic card program is I swipe my card, I don't have any clue where I am toward my next reward. If there's not real-time reinforcement, how am I supposed to change my behavior? If you know exactly where the finish line is, then you know when to start sprinting. Attainable. If you set the bar too high, which is a common thing that people do wrong, they make their reward program hard to enroll in, you get fewer people. And if you get fewer people, you have to start asking, why am I doing it in the first place? Right? You're trying to save on margin. That's what everyone's trying to do by setting the bar super high. But some of you are marathon runners, but if someone put me at the start of a marathon course and told me to go, I probably wouldn't even start because I'd know I had no chance, right? You got to make it attainable if you want people to get there. And then, of course, motivating as well. So just as you think about designing a program, whether it's with any technology vendor, these are the things to think about. And as you're trying to understand how can loyalty actually result in incremental revenue, think to the racetrack. Get more people all the way around. They'll start running faster. And there's one other thing. What do people do after they win a race? They grab their flag and they take a victory lap. They have no energy, but they're going for another lap around the track. That's what loyalty does for you and your brand.